Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you have as well. Check out that prime, USDA prime certified Angus beef as well. Boy, there's some good stuff in there, folks. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, CBS, NBC, Fox, wherever, whatever, all across these United States of America. Everybody else watching by chance on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, and WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets. If you're lucky enough to be in there, good for you. And also everybody on Hotel TV, same idea there. That's across all 210 Nielsen-rated markets, plus Chicago food favorites. Folks, make sure to check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, a fun page of restaurants, recipes, your favorite foods. It's all free. It's a fun group. Have some fun with it. Of course, I'm going to say fun about 1,200 more times just because I can. But nonetheless, it's free. So go enjoy it. That's Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Interesting show today, folks. We'll talk a little bit of baseball, a little bit of spin rate. In fact, we're going to dive into that right away, and how that relates to entertainment. There's entertainment value, of course. There's performance, needless to say. But let's think of the idea of spin rate in baseball. First of all, what the heck is it? Well, all right, so you could pick your favorite definition of it, but technically it refers to the number of revolutions per minute, just like RPMs you have in your engine, right? What's your engine on your tachometer, right? What are your RPMs? How fast is your engine revving? Well, same idea. What are the revolutions per minute a baseball makes after the pitcher throws it? So again, measured in RPMs, and it significantly impacts the pitch's movement. So a little bit more on that. Spin rate measures how fast a baseball spins after it's released. Why does it matter? Well, the amount of spin a pitch has affects its trajectory and movement, and technically driving how a hitter sees that ball and or reacts to the pitch itself. And so that RPM idea, we think about, well, how or why is it important, and how is it calculated? Right? Let's think about how is it calculated. So you take the spin rate, or basically the raw spin. It measures the overall RPMs of the ball by adding together the amount of backspin, topspin, side spin, gyroscopic spin, etc., bullet spin, football spiral, whatever. Think about that, right? Because you have some quarterbacks have a real tight spinning spiral, which cuts through the wind a little bit faster, whatever. So there is a measurement in there, and it kind of gives an idea as to what it looks like from, let's put it this way. The tighter the spin, the more the break. Look at it that way. So after the idea of representing the spin rate, you say, well, what is good and what's typical and what's not typical and so forth. I mean, a four-seam fastball, putting four seams across the finger, for all you that know what I'm talking about, when you look at a baseball head on and you'll see the label. All right, so I've got one in my hand right now. I look at the label. If you're looking at the label and you put your middle finger and your index finger on either side of the label across the two seams, and you grab the ball with your thumb on the seam to the back of the ball, what you've done is you've grabbed the ball in a two-seam fastball grip. So what happens with this particular grip is, in many cases, whether your index finger or your middle finger comes off the ball first, the ball is going to break. When I say it's going to break, it's going to curve one direction or another a little bit because you're using two of the seams and the ball is catching the wind in a very particular way, that oncoming wind, and it moves the ball slightly either left or right, in some cases up or down. It just depends on what type of a pitcher you are. Now, if you take that same grip on a baseball, where maybe your middle finger and your index finger are looking at the label, like this one says Rawlings, and it says Major League Baseball, official ball, Major League Baseball across the front of it, for example. So this particular ball, that's where the lettering is in between the two seams. It says Rawlings above the top seam where you grab it. Now, if you rotate that to the left or right, you'll see that the label is off to the left or right, depending on how you rotated it. And now you can put your fingers on the two seams to the top, because again, you have two seams facing you, then you have two seams on the reverse side of the ball. That's the way these balls are made. So if you grab the two seams on top, again, your middle finger would be on one side of it, and they're basically parallel to one another, and your index finger would be the other one. So technically, when you release the ball as a pitcher, you have two seams facing you, but two seams opposite. This is the grip for a four-seam fastball. That's where we're talking about this. Now, the rotation of the ball as it cuts through the wind, you'll find that this ball goes straighter when you throw it. So when you're seeing these really, really fast pitchers, when they're throwing 95, 99, 100 miles an hour, even 104, I saw somebody do that not too long ago. Well, they're throwing a four-seam fastball because the ball cuts through the wind a lot easier and a lot swifter, so the ball doesn't necessarily curve. It's really a straight ball. And basically, the batter just got to dial it up, swing a little bit earlier, and hit that ball a country mile. Now, this spin rate thing, it matters when you're throwing curveballs and sliders and this kind of thing, for the most part, a little bit more than a four-seam fastball. And so when you say the pitch type, let's say a four-seam fastball, typical spin rate velocity, we'll call it 2,300 RPMs for a good one, and 2,280 is the typical Major League Baseball revolutions per minute on a four-seam fastball. Because remember, you're cutting through the wind faster with all four seams. Now, a two-seamer is going to have about a 5% less amount of RPMs on the ball. All right, and again, remember, that ball, you're only grabbing two seams, so it's cutting through the wind in a little bit different way than the four-seam fastball. Why does this matter? Because movement on the ball. Now, let's go ahead and rotate the ball, and let's grab our slider grip. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. You pick your favorite slider grip, right? So you have two fingers on the ball. It just depends on where you're holding them. Everything I throw is on seam. So I grab the ball by the seam, because new baseballs, when you're in a game, are very, very slippery. It's hard to hold on to a ball, just like a curveball. Now, the slider technically will move about 6 inches when you throw it. So it looks like a fastball, but it only moves a small amount just to slightly fool the hitter. And that's the purpose for it. And there is a very particular wrist movement that technically affects your elbow. All right, that's why people have this Tommy John thing. And so they're actually affecting their ulnar nerve by twisting their wrist in the way they do. That's why kids should never do that. They say, well, a 15-year-old's curveball is about 1,863 RPMs. Well, that's the average spin rate for a 15-year-old curveball. First of all, 15-year-olds shouldn't be throwing curveballs. They should be throwing straight changes and not tweaking their elbows. But a Major League Baseball curveball, for example, is the highest, really about 2,510 is the typical Major League Baseball RPM. And so why does that matter? When you throw the balls, they say, well, it's like pulling down the lampshade, right? So you're going in a downward movement to put that top spin on the ball, and so the ball will basically dip and dive. But the idea with that is Major League Baseball pitchers, they try to cheat any way they can. So they'll use substances to hold the ball tighter to get a better grip. And so there's something called spider tack that pitchers have used for a long time. They've put it into their gloves. I mean, some pitchers use Vaseline back to the Gaylord Perry days. But pitchers have used all kinds of substances, spitballs to get a better grip on it. And that's why when a pitcher goes to his hand, maybe on a cold day, to maybe cool his hand or something, or even on a warm day, the pitcher has to go to his glove or his pants or something and wipe his hand after he blows into his hand before he touches the ball. Otherwise, the umpire could say, hey, you're cheating, and then you could get removed from the game. A lot of people don't know this, but the spider tack is a substance that pitchers sometimes will hide in their glove, and they'll rub the ball down, they'll take the glove off their hand, and maybe the spider tack is inside their glove, and they'll rub it down so they get a better grip. All of this stuff matters. We think of spin rate, and why? Because it's all about pressure on the ball too. And pressure on the ball, how much you're putting, for example, on a curveball or a slider, how much pressure are you putting on this finger or that finger? And it affects the spin rate, and it also affects the dip and dive of the ball, if any. And so why are we talking about this? In the next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like in the music world, maybe when you're playing an instrument, a guitar or a piano. So folks, don't go anywhere. Lots more to come. We're going to be back here with Jason Owens, country music star. Check him out before you come back, or we come back from break, jasonowensmusic.com. Lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Can you feel the slow burn as you press against my lips? Your sweetness overtakes me, I'm okay with giving in.
We're a lot different, I ain't looking for the same. Come a little closer, babe, I wanna play this game. You're my whiskey,
You're my wine, I wanna feel your body next to mine, tangled up in the bedsheet, mixing Chardonnay and country. Get me tipsy tonight, I'll drink you up until the sunrise. Wanna wake up with you by my side, mixing whiskey and wine. Be heaven sent. Red lip stain, still there from yesterday. You and me, we go together, there's just no other way.
you're my whiskey,
You're my wine, I wanna feel your body next to mine, tangled up in the bedsheets, mixing Chardonnay and country. Get me tipsy tonight, I'll drink you up until the sun
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. This is country music artist Jason Owens. You can find my music online on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you stream music. Just type in Jason Owens or check out our website, www.jasonowensmusic.com. Right now, I'm going to hand it back to Ringmaster Sal.
All right, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. Of course, that's Jason Owens. Folks, again, check him out at jasonowensmusic.com. Big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our television and radio affiliates. See, you could be closing your eyes and listening in on television, by the way, folks. And also for everybody on the radio, as Jason's eyes roll a little bit to the back of his head when I say that, it's because he and I can only see each other. Or actually, I can only see him. He can't see me, but everybody else may be able to watch this as well. We're not sure. But you know what? Close your eyes anyway. For everybody listening in also on all of our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, thanks for joining us. Also on Chicago Food Favorites. Nice round of applause for them. Check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And Jason, at some point we will talk food again. And maybe even during this episode, because I know you're really watching what's going on in the food world. We'll get back to that a little bit later. Yeah. But you know, the one thing I want to get to is in the first segment, I talked a little bit about spin rate and baseball and eye contact. Let's focus on spin rate. And spin rate, what I was referring to in the previous segment, was about as a pitcher, as a former pitcher, there is a amount of pressure that I could put on the seams of a ball to make the ball spin faster or tighter and give me a bigger curve on the ball, like if I'm throwing a curveball, a slider, whatever, something off speed. Well, we have the same kind of dynamic in music, and this is something you could absolutely relate to, is the pressure that you would put on one of the strings on your guitar. Talk to the audience. Tell them what I'm referring to specifically, because I'm not even going to try to head that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think the best way to do it is I'll just grab a guitar and try to kind of explain. So music, we have this thing called dynamics, and that can be how loud or soft something is. So if I put a ton of pressure on the strings, it's louder, but if I, play like softer, we're gonna have like a more like chill vibe, or something more rocking or whatever. You might want to be a little more aggressive with it. That's what I would say about that part of it, for sure.
Okay, and so folks, this is not only for guitars, but this is just a good example. We see the same thing even when somebody plays a piano, right? It's still technically, right? There you go. And he turns around and he has a piano right behind him. And yes, you do play keyboard too a little bit, don't you?
A little bit.
All right. So, but we have the same dynamic also with the piano and all other stringed instruments, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So maybe as a kid, somebody took a piano lesson. And I've never taken a piano lesson. I think the only thing I ever learned how to play was Mary Had a Little Lamb. I don't know, something like that. Mm-hmm. But there was a time where at some point, each one of us somehow sat in front of a piano, maybe picked up a guitar or a violin or something, and we learned a little something about the pressure on these strings. Why is it important? Because we think about ballads, for example, and then we say, all right, what message are we trying to send in a ballad? And when you put one of your ballads together, for example, what's the message you're trying to send?
Well, it's usually ballads are normally more love songs or sad songs. So either a feeling of love or a feeling of heartbreak or sadness. But we kind of stay away from that a little bit because we like people to be happy. But every now
right, right. Well, I asked the question because sometimes you'll have like a rock ballad. Think to those, right? And sometimes maybe it's not necessarily a sad song or a love song. Maybe it's just a reflection of a particular time in your life.
Sure.
And so as I look at those, I say, all right, or better yet, as I listen to those, I say, all right, well, there are times where I'll be listening to whatever song it is, and then we'll have almost like a rolling crescendo, decrescendo, crescendo, decrescendo. So there's energy, then it dies down and stuff like that. What does that mean to the audience when they're listening?
I think it just takes the audience on a journey. However that songwriter or artist is performing that, we're just taking you kind of on that roller coaster of going from something real loud to soft or vice versa, just to display that emotion.
Okay. Well, listen, I had to sit and process that for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to tell me that in another way where, see, I have one perspective, but maybe Joe or Josephine or whatever, Susie or Susie Q or Chris or whomever, maybe has a different perspective. Now, I want you to take that same idea and say it differently in a way where you could send the same exact message. Because this is an important piece, because a lot of people don't necessarily or cannot or refuse to wrap their heads around something just like what you said.
Okay. Well, I would say that it is a way to take the listener on a journey through the music to make them feel certain ways, depending on how the music is composed or how it just hits. Music, it's just all about feeling, and whether that's a feeling of happiness or sadness, or taking you back to a place when you were young, memories. That's what it's all about.
Right. And the reason I did that is, for the reason I just said, but you got to remember, we're all individuals and we process information differently. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes what you'll tell me or what you could tell an audience member or one of your fans is X, but they look at it as Y or
mm-hmm.
Z, right?
Sure.
And so we all have the same thing, even in our day-to-day lives. The listeners today, everybody has their idea of what today should be, what it could be, what it might be, what it was, how could I have changed it? But maybe the musical journey that you're referring to could partially define part of their day or help clarify some of their day, of some of the ongoings, and they relate to your music. Here you'll have two audience members, for example, sitting side by side, and one person is listening to your music in one way. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the other person who's sitting 2 inches away from them is thinking entirely something different.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of, now I've been to your shows and I've sat and I've watched the audience and I've seen this dynamic. But at the end of the day, most people, they're happy, they're dancing, their head bobbing, toe tapping, they're tapping their drinks on the tables, whatever it is. People are happy at your shows. And
yeah,
so
man. I mean,
I like that,
they're
man.
Covering their ears or walking out, that's good.
Yeah, right. You don't want them covering their ears. But back to this pressure on the strings discussion, mm-hmm. because as I look at, or better yet, when I listen to whatever's a hit song from this party or that party, whatever, mm-hmm. and I'm not going to say that it's an even balance of ballads to upbeat music. I would tend to think, it's just my own opinion, that the softer, lighter on the string songs have more staying power with the audience, because it sometimes, as I see it, it would drill down deeper into the audience's psyche. It makes them think a little bit more. What do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think melodies do that for sure. Like a melodic solo, so something that you could sing, like a. Something like that is more memorable than something like, right? Just a blur of notes. So, they always say when you're growing up, one of the reasons you learn to play the guitar is to get the girls, right? So you learn like all this like really cool like fast stuff, and it's like the girls don't really care about that. They just want to hear your soul in those melodies.
Well, you know, it's interesting because the guys here in our last minute of the segment, the guys will watch you play, and when I watch you play, I'm like, damn, this boy can play. And I'm watching for speed. I'm not watching really, I mean, of course I want it clean, but I'm watching for speed. I think guys tend to watch for performance where the women will watch for emotion.
Yes.
All right. See that? I guessed something right. Oh, boy. Well, I mean, look, here, as I look at it, I'm one of the worst guitar players that's ever walked the earth. And it's largely because I don't practice. I have to learn everything all over again. I'll pick the guitar up maybe once or twice a year. It's always tuned to the key of me, as you know about. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's just, it probably takes me weeks just to relearn what I knew from way back in the day. But you play and play and play because that's your business. But
right.
in the next segment, I want to talk a little bit about the singing side of it, the eye contact side of it, and the fan engagement side of it. All right, so folks, we're going to be back here in just a few minutes with Jason Owens. Check him out in the meantime, jasonowensmusic.com. This is one pretty cool dude. I don't want to give him too many ego biscuits, but now he's a good guy. Go ahead and check him out again at jasonowensmusic.com, and here's a little something from his library. Don't go anywhere, folks.
She's the cutest girl I've ever seen. When she's fighting mad, it's the funniest thing. Long hair, blue eyes, and a heart of gold. This is the one thing I want you to know. If you want a man that'll love you to the moon and back, never lie, yeah, baby, none of that. But slow and steady wins the race. It's the thrill of the chase. Falling in love just ain't the same these days. We might start with a bottle of Jack. Maybe we won't need that. I gotta find a way to call her mine. I know sometimes gotta take it slow and steady. She's like a locked up bank vault, and I'm trying to crack the code. She's a perfect 10. She's got nowhere else to go. Yeah, I'm trying to show her I'm the kind of man she wants. She's had some real losers and it's, but her defense is up. I just wanna love her to the moon and back. I'll never cheat, never lie, yeah, baby, none of that. The slow and steady wins the race. It's the thrill of the chase. Gotta build the trust up these days. Might start with a bottle of Jack. Maybe we won't need that. I gotta find a way to call her mine. I know sometimes you gotta take it slow and steady. Yeah, she's coming around, I can see it in her eyes. Let me tell you, when the sun comes up, I ain't wasting no more time. I'm gonna pull right up in my truck. Maybe I'll be surprised. Slow and steady wins a race. She's walking right out. That smile she just gave me, I can see she's getting me.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by The Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, you name it, we're everywhere. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out the store, a shameless plug for The Sports Circus. There are some really cool items there, such as hats, t-shirts, hoodies, sweatpants, mouse pads. Yes, mouse people actually still use those things. Mouse pads, travel mugs, coffee mugs, you name it, they're there. Again, a shameless plug for the Sports Circus. Mention Ringmaster Sal for an extra handy-dandy 10% discount off all that wonderful merchandise. Yes! All right. By the way, folks, speaking of merch, we happen to have Jason Owens with us, country music star. Of course, I always say that because I always describe him as country music star. And if you don't know who he is, you better check yourself, and you better check out jasonowensmusic.com because there is some really good original music on that particular site, all written and produced and performed by Jason Owens and his wonderful band. I got to tell you, folks, it is a real treat to have Jason back with us. Jason, thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks, Sal. It's good to be back.
All right. Boy, is that enough Eagle biscuits for you in one shot?
Yeah, my hat size grew a little bit, but,
Well, that's okay. And quite frankly, it ought to. Last I saw a graphic, and we won't stamp this for time or nothing, but I saw over 91,000 or something, 92,000 listeners on Spotify alone. And, of course, the number will certainly continue to grow to millions of listeners. That's kind of what we're after here, right?
That's the goal. That's the goal, man.
I know. Let's go. So let's talk about all those listeners when they go and see you. And let's just say it's maybe before the show. Do you spend time before your shows and a little audience interaction?
Yeah. I mean, if I see someone at the show, it's beforehand. I'll hang out with them or whatever, and then after the show, I like to set up my merch booth and just go hang out there and just meet anybody that wants to meet us. Because if they took their time to come out to the show, I mean, time's precious, and if you take your time to come out and see us, if you want to meet me, I don't really know why you would, but if you want to meet me, I want that to happen. So. I really do my best to try to make that happen when we can, for sure.
Okay, so what about this one? Let's just say somebody, they don't know who you are, and you just happen to be sitting in the venue, maybe just sitting there having a snack or you're not going to be drinking soda much, but let's just say you're drinking a glass of ice water with lemon or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so because you're a health-conscious guy, you want to make sure you look your best out there all the time. And so let's say you're just sitting at a table, maybe just by yourself, whatever, and somebody starts a conversation with you, and they're a fan of country music, but you don't let on to who you are. Now, these are kind of fun now. And
yeah,
right, and you have your dialogue, and they're asking you questions. Hey, do you know who's going to be playing here, or something like that, or have you ever seen these guys before? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you're looking at, I looked in the mirror this morning. Yeah, I've seen who's going to be playing here, right? How does that kind of dialogue go? You got to have fun with it now.
Yeah, you know what was funny the other day is I was leaving a show and I walked back in just to double check to make sure we didn't forget anything, doing an idiot check. And this guy came up to me and he said, "Man, my girlfriend has that Jason Owens hat. That's really cool. Is it all right if I send a picture of it to her?" I was like, Sure. So we took the picture, whatever. I walked backstage and came back out, and then when I left, I gave him some pics and I left. So I don't know if he knew who I was or not, but it was just a funny interaction.
Hey, that's pretty cool. So I think of the people that you don't know, and let's say you carried on that dialogue. Hey, what did you think of these guys? Say just somebody randomly asking you, and you were the guy on stage, right? Have you ever had that happen? I'm sure at some point you have.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's happened. It's usually like, wow, that band really sucked. Like, yeah, they were awful. Man, I wouldn't see them again.
Right. No, that's got to be a fun dialogue. But so go from the before show interaction. If you're just sitting there, whatever, and minding your own business, somebody come up and talk to you, just carry on with them. And I would imagine that when they see who they were talking to, like, oh my God, right? One of those kind of moments. But now take the idea that here you're pre-show, and we'll go back to like signing autographs and whatnot like that. And they see you up there, and now they're closely paying attention to every move you make. And they want you to take them shades off and look in their eyes, whatever. And now you're singing to the people. And so, because I know sometimes you wear sunglasses up on the stage and the lights are bright and all this other whatnot. And I would imagine, I mean, it really has a chance to kind of dim the lights if you have sensitive eyes and whatnot. But talk to me about, maybe you're in the middle of a song and maybe it's one of your, so like the last one we just heard, Slow and Steady, for example. And maybe there's some people out there that you feel that they would be even closer connected to you because you picked out maybe one or two people and you sang part of that song. Maybe you walked off stage and got into the crowd and sang to them. That's got to have a real interesting dynamic. Talk about that.
Man, that's one of the best things, just connecting with the audience, whether that's a couple or maybe it's an older couple. You know, and one of my favorite audience members to connect with are little kids, just because if it's probably one of their first concerts they've been to. So if I see the little kids out there, you know, I give them like a pick, or I give them my hat, or pull them up on stage, sing with them, or you know, whatever. Just try to make it a memorable time for them, because they're our future, you know.
Well, and not only that, I mean, these will be your loyal listeners and concert goers for many, many years to come, which is great, because sometimes I'm sure you see familiar faces in the crowd and you'll go up and talk to them maybe afterwards, or maybe you'll take a request from them and you're trying to do something special because they remember you and you remember them. And that's got to be a really cool feeling when you look out into the crowd in the sea of humanity and you see familiar faces.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when one of my favorite artists remembers me, and I've had that happen a few times, you know, just being a fan and talking to different people, and then I see them again, they're like, oh, hey, buddy, you still playing that guitar? You know, it's just like, it's just indescribable. It's really cool. So if I can give that same impact, that's what I want to do.
I heard a story, and that was, I believe, from your father. And it was about, I think your sister got a guitar pick, or a guitar, and you got a guitar pick. I forget which one it was, whatever. And then, is that what you were referring to? Tell everybody, take 1 minute and talk about that.
Yeah, so we were at the Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, and Justin Moore was opening for Brad Paisley. And it was our first time seeing Justin. And he walked down at the end of his set. I was holding my little sister up, and he gave her his guitar off the stage, which was really cool. And we still have that. But when we were in Nashville at CMA Fest, we ran into Justin, and he just went, oh, hey, buddy, you still playing that guitar? And I'm like, I don't know how that guy remembers that out of, you know, anything. Actually, I forgot one little spot. We put up a YouTube video. That's how he knew about us, about me playing guitar or whatever. But I don't know how he remembered that still. Yeah, it's just pretty crazy.
What's crazy about that is whatever age you were, I mean, look, out of all the people that he interacts with, all the people that listen to him, watch him, whatever, he remembered you. And this is the reason I ask about that audience interaction in our last minute of the segment here, is because at some point there is that connection that's made, and you and your sister obviously had an impact on this guy. And so that impact goes both ways. It's not just one way. It's not just the fans clamoring to the artist. No, a lot of times it's the artist clamoring back to the fans. Agree or disagree?
Oh, definitely. I agree. Definitely. That's, I mean, we're up there entertaining the fans, but the fans are also entertaining us and, you know, making lifelong connections with us as well.
Yeah, and those connections, you could relate that to sports. And I think about that back when I was a kid, having people sign my hat or my shirt or my arm or whatever I can get them to sign. I'm a little kid and I'm at the baseball games, and these are my heroes. You got to remember, Jason, you're the heroes of these people out there that are coming to pay to watch you, because, hey, they're taking their hard-earned money and they're saying, you know what, I want to watch this guy because he brings something real special to the table. And that in itself deserves, of course, a round of applause. Listen, Jason, take a quick 20 seconds or so. Tell everybody how to follow you before we go to break.
Yeah. You guys can find us online at Jason Owens Music on all the social media. You can find us on our website, www.jasonowensmusic.com, or you can stream our music wherever you listen to music, whether that be Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, Tidal, whatever it is. Just type in Jason Owens. Check out some of that. Check out Slow and Steady. Check out Whiskey and Wine. Check out Drunk Dial. I would love to hear what y'all think about it. Thank you so much.
All right, that's Jason Owens. Again, check him out at jasonowensmusic.com. Back here in just a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Without your smile, why'd let the guys drag me out for this? You're probably at home just watching TV, and I can't stop thinking about your lips, 'cause your kisses are sweeter than this champagne. Your voice is better than the song that the DJ's playing. There's no party, no party, no party like you. And there's nobody, nobody that can light up this whole room. No Mardi Gras or Fiesta to compare it to. There's no party, girl. There's no party like you. Here we be going crazy, just you and me tearing up that dance floor. Oh yeah, sipping from that flask of whiskey you snuck in. I wish you walked right through that door. The spotlight's spinning round and round, it's searching for you. My heart stops, the beat drops when you walk into a room. There's no party, no party, no party like you. And there's nobody, nobody that can light up this whole room. No Mardi Gras or Fiesta to compare it to. There's no party, girl. There's no party like you. No party, no party like you. Yeah, there's no party, no party, no party like you. There's nobody, nobody that can light up this whole room. No Mardi Gras or Fiesta to compare it to. There's no party, girl. There's no party like you.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circuit. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. A big thanks for everybody tuning in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome into everybody else up and down the West Coast and throughout the heartland on all of our independents and affiliates, as well as our friends down in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD 1230 on the AM dial, home of the Atlanta Braves. Speaking of Atlanta, big welcome into our friends over on WDJY 99.1 in Atlanta, and plus everybody else on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets, as well as Hotel TV and Chicago food favorites on Facebook. The last couple segments with Jason Owens, and Jason's one of those guys where he will take the time and talk to everybody until everybody has left that wants to talk to him. And as a artist, it's just very refreshing that there are certain people that will stand around and do what they got to do and connect with the audience, while others that I know, and recently I did a show with somebody that couldn't get out of the building any faster, and it was one of those situations where you knew they were only there to make a buck. At least that's what it looked like. That's what it presented. I can't say that, but I'll tell you, it sent the message that this particular party was just trying to make a buck and get the you-know-what out of the building. And for me, I don't appreciate that. I get it, because sometimes they have a plane to catch, or they have a bus to get on to get over to the plane, or they have a next venue, which is not too terribly far of a drive away, but they got to get on the road right away. But that still doesn't stop people. It shouldn't stop people from interacting with the people that took the time to come out and see them, spend their hard-earned money to buy a ticket to go see them, or to even buy a hat, a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, whatever the heck it is, some of the merchandise. And the reality is, folks, look, it costs a lot of money to go out these days, whether it's food, whether it's a concert, whether it's a movie. I remember movies literally being $1 a ticket. And now it's $20, $25, $30 to go see a movie, which to me makes zero sense whatsoever. And so you have to find a way to get some additional value to go out and spend $1, because otherwise, what's your next best alternative? That's the old opportunity cost, if you remember that from your basic economics class, if you've taken one. What's your next best alternative with that money and that time? Well, you don't have to go to the shows. You don't have to go do this, that, the other, unless they bring something to the table. Jason's one of those guys. Check him out at jasonowensmusic.com. Jason's one of those guys that will make sure that you really get to stretch that dollar. If you're spending $1 to go see him, or to buy something from him, or whatever, or spending your time, he'll stretch the value to give you sort of what you're looking for. And I have to say, that is one trait that I really like about Jason and his band. They take the time to talk to people. That's good stuff. All right, moving on. In baseball, for example, I'm going to give you an idea of what that looks like from my perspective as a former pitcher, which I talked a little bit about in the first segment. We think about eye contact with the audience before a game or after a game. Maybe you're getting on a bus, for example. Players getting off the bus, maybe from the airport or from the hotel, and they arrive at the stadium. And in many cases, the real hardcore fans, they know where the buses are. They try to do whatever they can to get the players' attention. And sometimes the players will come over and they'll talk to the young fans, the old fans, whatever. And let's face it, the players know when the fans are going to ask them to sign something, and technically either they're going to keep it or they're going to sell it. And so a lot of times players don't like signing things because they know that somebody's going to turn right around on one of those online platforms and sell that autographed item, which I get it, but really it's all about show me the money! Right. So that's why a lot of times players don't like to sign things in these days. Back in the old days, they would sign everything. Pete Rose signed everything. I give Pete a hard time all the time because of the gambling thing, but Pete was very gracious with the fans. He would take a lot of photos, and he would sign stuff left, right, and center because he was really that kind of guy on the field as far as a player goes. And so Pete was really good for the game and that aspect of it. Now, off the field may be a different conversation, but whatever. We'll let Pete rest, and Pete was great in baseball. Everything else I don't know about because I wasn't there, if you know what I mean. Right, there you go, Pete. But anyway, we think about the players getting off the buses and signing things and taking pictures and doing whatever, because nowadays you can actually take pictures. You can take selfies. And then after the games, you ask, hey, do you think these guys are going to stop when they're getting onto the bus and they're going to sign things? I have a funny story about this. And one time I went to a basketball game with my brother. It was at the LA Sports Arena. And it was a playoff game between the Los Angeles Clippers and I believe it was, who the heck was it against? It was the Clippers, and I think it was the Rockets, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I believe it was the Rockets. I saw the ticket stub anyways, back in the 1990s on the Wayback Time Machine. And so my brother and I were walking around after the game, and we looked at, all right, this exit, that exit, this is the shortest one to get out. So I was like, all right, well, let's go to this one here. And so we exited the sports arena, which is right there next to the University of Southern California, which ironically is now in the Big Ten, which I don't even understand that. Really. And that deserves a round of boos because they belong in the Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever it was. So we got out of the stadium, and we got out real quick, and we're kind of walking around looking for something to do, whatever. And sure enough, there was the bus where the players get on. We didn't know which bus it was. Well, we looked around, and we're like, oh, well, let's just kind of walk over there. And so as we got closer, there was a guy, he was kind of sitting down next to the bus on a chair. And we recognized him like, hey, that's Rudy Tomjanovich. Let's go talk to Rudy. And so we walked up. And it's a true story. We walked up, and Rudy goes, hey, guys, you want a beer? No kidding. And so we're sitting there drinking a beer with Rudy T, and we're talking about the game and everything else. And he's just a regular guy, just like us, as long as you don't approach them as a super fan. We didn't ask him to sign anything or do anything. We're just sitting there yip-yapping with him. And the cool thing is that Rudy probably spent 15, 20 minutes just talking with us, waiting for the players to get on the bus. And again, they're just regular people, folks. They happen to be in a visible position. Now, mind you, this is the coach of a very good squad. And at that time, it was the Houston Rockets that won back-to-back championships at that time because Michael Jordan, well, seemed to conveniently sit out of basketball for a couple of seasons, but that's another discussion for another time. But nonetheless, that was the championship team with Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler and all those guys, whatnot. And, as the players came to the bus, we didn't really care about any of that stuff. All we did was sit there and talk to Rudy, even while the players were getting on the bus, because we had a really good talk with Rudy. And it was nice because he was able to give us a normal conversation rather than here's a couple of fans, so to say. Mind you, this is the opposing team, and we didn't really have a dog in the fight. We went to the game at the LA Sports Arena, but what we didn't do is go and be super fans for the LA Clippers. We just went because it was a playoff game there. It didn't matter who the people were. We just wanted to go see a fun basketball game. Playoff basketball is pretty exciting to go to. And so the eye contact is what I'm getting at. Jason and I talked about that in the last segment. Connecting with the people. And I have to tell you that after having that dialogue with Rudy years later, bringing Rudy onto the sports circus has been something that I've been trying to do for quite a while. And I brought all kinds of people around him. I just haven't got Rudy onto the show just yet. I will at some point. I want to ask him about that story. Mind you, this is actually over 30 years ago that this happened, but I'll never forget it. That's the crazy part about it. And so I'm going to give you one little side note to that. During that game, actually right after that game, I went down to the floor. I was sitting up in the loge section. I went down to the floor with my brother, and I came up to Billy Crystal, and I didn't ask him, hey, would you please sign my ticket? I walked up to Billy, and I got right in his grill, and I said, hey, Billy, sign my ticket. And I'm about a foot taller than him. And he looked at me, he's like, okay. All right. And so the reason I had him do that was because my sister, who is a fan of what, Billy's movies and TV shows and whatnot, one time she went up to him and she was in the same place and she said, would you kindly sign something for me, whatever. And he gave her a big fat no. That's right. Billy Crystal said no to my sister in a very, very, very rude way. He was very rude to her. And this still stays with her now. Again, this is, 35 years ago, whatever the hell it was. And so I told him after he signed it, I said, this is for my sister who you snubbed in a very mean and disrespectful way. And so I actually ended up giving that ticket that was signed by him because she got snubbed from him. I actually gave that ticket to my sister so she could actually have what she was trying to seek 35 years previous. And so, folks, if you think this stuff doesn't matter, it does matter. The dialogue with Jason was really important because it's something we can all connect with the party or band or whatever it is that we're going to go see, that event. And that stuff stays with you. So as a player, I have signed stuff. In fact, in a strange way, I think I probably signed like 4 autographs in my life, whatever, just, joking about it. But anyway, I remember somebody came to my door about 6-7 years ago, no, maybe 10 years ago. Someone came to my door and they recognized me as a former ball player and they asked me to sign something. I was like, yeah, sure, that's cool, whatever. And it was cool because they connected. They remembered me from the 1980s. Imagine that. So, folks, if you think this stuff doesn't matter, believe me, it does matter. Because we've all probably asked somebody to sign something at some point or even sign something for somebody. But that lifelong connection never, ever goes away. And, folks, make sure that you check out JasonOwensMusic.com. Once again, that's JasonOwensMusic.com for his upcoming tour dates. And also, you could probably pick up some of his merch there. Watch his videos there. Lots of great videos. This guy has done really big things. Make sure you check him out, folks. He is a lot of fun and a really good guy. We're going to be back here in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
Way you taste tonight, you must be heaven sent.